Season 5 of Stranger Things is upon us, so let's go over some potential plot points that I think might be interesting or might actually be occurring. Potentially, who knows what's going on? Let's figure it out. Let's talk about it. Spoilers ahead if I guess right. All right. First thing I want to talk about going into Stranger Things Season 5, Will Byers. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with this character. Poor Will has had one of the most up and down, not sure what to make of it, plots throughout the entire series. In Season 1, we didn't even know if he was alive until the penultimate episode. We saw him briefly in Episode 1, we saw some flashbacks in the rest of the season, and then boom. It was a real mystery the first season. Season 2, he was there, but he was kind of sidelined from his friends for most of it. He was possessed by the smoke demon, by the mind flayer for a lot of it. Season 3, they kind of put him back in with the team, but at this point, he didn't really fit anywhere. He wasn't part of the dynamic. And what the show did a really good job was mixing groups together and putting, pairs together that you didn't expect to do little buddy cop things. Will never really got to be a part of that. Season 4, more of the same thing, and it almost feels like the directors in Season 4 told him to overact and make everything super emotional, because he was a great actor in the first 3 seasons, and in Season 4 it seems like whatever his emotion is supposed to be, it's on his sleeve, and it's way too apparent and awkward. So I hope in Season 5 he gets a cool storyline, because it almost feels like in the Hangover movies where they're all part of the wolf pack, but that one guy is the guy who's missing for the entire movie, the Justin Bartha character. Like, he's part of the team, but we don't see why he's part of the team. We never really get that he's a member, because we're told that he's a member, but we never see him being that member. So it's interesting to see that as I rewatched the series preparing for Season 5, how he was a vessel. He was just a reminder that he was the spy. He was the super spy, the whatever spy that Mike was calling him in Season 2. It was really Vecna using him as a spy, so they were kind of using each other, but they've been setting this up for a while, so it will be interesting to see what Vecna has up his sleeve for Will, how Will is going to come together. Will has always been an outsider, like I was saying, so much like Vecna, I wonder how they're going to exploit that, how much the Upside Down and these evil, entities can exploit that from Will. The other thing is, as we've learned, maybe Will is more, or as we can infer, maybe Will is more at home in the Upside Down. Maybe he likes the adventure lifestyle. I know it's a silly thing to say, but he's the one that seems resistant to growing up, wanting to keep playing D&D, doesn't fit in with anything normal. It almost seems like he's more fit for the Upside Down, and maybe once they unlock something in him, he might be able to control it and make it a better place. The Upside Down is not inherently evil, as we've seen, like Dart, the little demodog that, what was his name? Dustin raised. That thing wasn't inherently evil. It was just, it seems like it was taking on from the hive mind, but I don't believe everything in the Upside Down is the hive mind necessarily. So it'll be interesting to see. Apparently Season 5 actually is going to give us an idea of what the Upside Down is, where it came from, all that type of crap. So, okay, cool. And I have a feeling we're going to get Dark Will at some point. It almost seems likely that he's going to be one of the villains of the season, which, that could be good, that could be bad, but I think it'll be nice, at least for the actor and for the character, to finally have something to sink our teeth into with Will, which is nice. All right. Plot point number 2 that I'm interested in for this season. What's going to happen with Eddie? Is he coming back? He was one of the most prominent characters they killed off. They killed off, in the first season, Barb, and they had Bob Newby in Season 2. Bob Newby was phenomenal, but even Bob Newby didn't have as much of an impact on any of the characters, it seems. Like, Joyce moved on pretty quick from Bob Newby, whereas it seems like Dustin is going to be pretty affected by the Eddie death that he witnessed with his own eyes. We've also never seen someone get killed in the Upside Down like that. When Barb was killed, it was killed by the original Demogorgon that was clearly just a carnivore out to eat meat. It killed the deer, it killed Barb, it was killing all these things. The ones that killed Bob Newby, same thing. It was just, those were demodogs out in the open. They weren't in the Upside Down. These were bats in the Upside Down. And it's almost, I think there were too many hints for Eddie Munson to come back. For instance, when he says 86 is my year. Well, if you become a vampire, you stay the age you are when you're turned into a vampire. So it'd be interesting if 86 is his year, was his way of actually staying in 1986. His family thinks he's dead. The police in the town, even if they can prove it wasn't him, you feel like he's always going to be an outcast as a result of this. So it almost feels like he would take up residence in the Upside Down and become something powerful there, a force for good there. Again, similar like I think Will could be. potentially, when it's all said and done. I think of all the people that could potentially come back, Eddie's the most logical, based on both the star power of Joseph Quinn, the fact that they intertwined him so heavily in the season 4 storyline, and the fact that they hadn't really killed anyone else off that had that much of an impact on the story, I feel. So, as far as the last couple things I want to get into here, I was saying, who are they bringing back besides Eddie? I don't know if anyone's necessarily coming back. I am worried about who's going to be killed. I think the most logical, people are pointing their fingers at Steve, assuming that he's run his course as he's in life. His journey is to be this babysitter for these people, and now they're old enough to take care of themselves. There's also the possibility Hopper would die, defending or sacrificing himself, although we already saw that between season 3 and 4, so you don't want to play that card again. Would 11 fake sacrifice herself? Well, we already saw that in season 1 to 2. So at that point, maybe Will, because of how he gets intertwined with Vecna, but I can't see them having that the storyline for poor Will Byers. So again, everything points to Steve, but I don't know if they would do that. He's such a fan favorite. It feels like you have to kill people in a horror show or movie to make the villain seem actually villainous and dangerous. So we'll see what they do. Another interesting thing that we've seen or some rumors about what's going to happen with Holly Wheeler. That's Mike's little daughter, Mike's little sister, who we saw in the first couple seasons, and she's usually in the background. She doesn't have much of a case or much of a part in the plot. However, the Duffer Brothers and other people have said she's going to play a big role in this season. And also, I thought back when I was rewatching and looked in season 1, when Mrs. Wheeler and Holly visit Joyce Byers' house, Holly wanders off into the house, and the Demogorgon takes a real interest in her. It actually starts coming through the wall at her. Up to that point, and even through that season, we had only learned that the Demogorgon would go after things that were bleeding. Now, unless I missed something, maybe Holly was bleeding and I missed it. I don't think so. Maybe I did. Please let me know in the comments. I'm sure you will. But it's I don't think there's something else going on there. So it's weird that they planted that seed so early, although they've done a good job of creating lore based on things that already happened. Sometimes it's a little sloppy, but overall, I really enjoy it. So, and also I'm kind of interested to see what happens with the love triangle. Who actually is Nancy going to end up with? If either Steve or Jonathan, or is she going to maybe end up with Dustin? I still think that's the dark horse choice, that Dustin's going to swoop in at the end of the day with a pizza, offer it to Nancy, and she's going to say yes. I mean, she did dance with him at the ball. And also, what's the season's theme going to be? Season 1 and 2 kind of go hand in hand. They fit together really well. They're both classic early 80s horror. Season 3 is where things got neon. You introduced them all. And that's where also things didn't jump the shark, but really got a lot more Hollywood as far as they introduced the Russians. It went from being a small town, weird, creepy horror to something grandiose that a lot else was going on here. Too many people knew about this. And then season 4 was more of that, where part of the season takes place in Alaska, part of it takes place in Russia. It's kind of a cannonball run across the United States with all the people. So I hope season 5, I hope it's more grounded. I'm interested to see what themes are, what movies they reference, and what horror movies, what action movies, what other things they reference, because it's been one of the best series as far as nostalgia, even though it doesn't call at it 100%. It's not like, I look at it as I look at the 70s show versus the 80s show, or that 70s show versus that 80s show. That 70s show was a great show that happened to have the 70s as a backdrop. Every once in a while, they'd have an episode where they'd be like, oh, look at this new feature on the TV or the phone or something. But in general, it was just a good show that happened to have the 70s as a backdrop. Whereas that 80s show completely screwed up, because that 80s show didn't have any type of plot that people cared about. It was literally like, hey, I have a cell phone. Isn't that wacky? Whoa, what's a CD? Isn't that wacky? What's this rap thing people are talking about? It was, let's go through every single 80s trope, every single cliche, and just make jokes about that. And that's not something you can build a series around. So Stranger Things, even though you see these things in the background, the mall and the neon clothes and the hair and stuff, you don't feel like it's dominating the show and they're pointing at it and saying, hey, look at you with the weird hairstyle. Isn't that funky? Well, I saw Madonna doing it. No, it's just kind of, it's natural. They got really lucky with the cast. They got really lucky with, the adult actors, you kind of knew what you were getting. But the kid actors, all of them, they started when they were like 10 or 11, and these kids are now in their 20s. And you can tell most of them are pretty damn good at getting the point across. So I'm really excited for season 5, if you can't tell. Please let me know in the comments. Hit like on the video if you enjoyed my thoughts, and I will see you. I'm going to be dropping reviews and or little commentaries or something for each episode of season 5 as we work our way towards the series finale. As always, this is Alex from Sandro Says. I don't know what I was saying there. I stumbled. That's embarrassing. I don't know how to end my videos, so I'm going to start this over. I'm going to say, this is Alex from Sandro Says saying, have a good day, and never stop unlocking those curiosity doors.